Saw a listing on, I guess it was the New England Conservatory of Music, that it was publishing jobs, and I saw that and like, give it a try. It was a long process to get the job. It was like a whole year of auditions and interviews and things like that. I saw the job, I was like, this is great, this is in New York City, and it pays well, and it's a very well-known organization, and Musica Viva, and I had to learn about Wally and all that stuff, and I thought, if I can get this, it'd be amazing. At my audition with Musica Viva NY, I felt very comfortable in the beginning. I remember it was short. I remember I felt focused. I remember I was like, okay, I don't know how long it's going to be, but I really need to focus. I felt like I made a connection. I remember individual faces and the vibe, that was happening. And it felt very special. It felt like, when you drive a car and you're like, oh, this is the car that I want to buy. It just felt like this is right. After the audition, I felt really good, and I spoke to a few people that thought it went very well. So David Rockefeller called me. He's the one that let me know. He was heading the search committee with Ed Harsh, and he called me after I got the job. I was very happy. Yeah, that was awesome. I don't know exactly what I did, but no, it's great. Because it was a very long process, to get to that point. It was like months and months and months of, can you send us this, can you send us that? It was always something, right? Like they should be. I mean, they're being very thorough. And I'm glad they took their time. But by the 6th, 7th month, they were like, yeah, so I was very happy. Yeah. I knew about Musica Viva NY. I didn't know much about the vision of the organization. I learned some things from looking at the website and so forth, but I really didn't have communication with Wally, in that sense. I had a lunch with him after I got the job, and that's when I learned more about what the organization was all about. As I told Wally once when I got the job, I just want to take care of your baby, because it felt like already a fully formed being. My first concert with Musica Viva was interesting because obviously I wanted to make a statement as to not only what I could do individually, but what we could do collectively. And I thought, well, what is the best way to accomplish that? So then I thought, well, who's my favorite composer? Who do I think is the greatest musician that's ever lived? And I thought, Bach is probably it. And I knew I wanted to include that in the season. So I thought, so what of Bach can we do? We could do cantatas with orchestra, we could do all kinds of things. But the engine of a group is the choir, right? So then I thought of a Bach motets. Sometimes they're done with a continuo group, and sometimes they're done a cappella. And we did them a cappella, we did all of them. It's a huge mountain to climb. But I thought you were capable of doing it. I thought we're gonna do it, and starting with that kind of energy, I think helped a lot. I think it made it clear that I wanted to grow, right? That I wanted the group to grow, and that I saw this as a long-term relationship. That I had these ambitious goals, right? That it wasn't just yet another organization that I had to work for or work with. I wanted to do something important. So we did the Bach motets, all of them.
That was a big enchilada.
That was a big enchilada, right? Was the first year? Well, then we started doing these Voices in Motion concerts that I think were very effective, kind of showcasing organ and you guys in different positions in the space. Of course, being from Latin America, I did a concert in Spanish, including Kolikov, which we just did. We did Coral del Arrecife, which is the last movement of the Oceana piece that we just performed, and Demos Gracias, which we've done several times since. Sombra Tubara, Guastavino, Harris, Whitaker, Carrillo. So in a way, I was also trying to introduce diversity into the programming and less known composers. Yeah, I think that season had it all, Solid program of Bach, this Voices in Motion concept, which I continue to do, I just don't call it that anymore. And then, something moving. There's a concert of Songs of Remembrance here with music that is, I think, particularly moving. Bachmaninoff happened twice. What do you mean, we repeated the concert? Bachmaninoff. Oh, Bachmaninoff, yes! Now I know what you're talking about. Yeah, so we wanted to do this Bachmaninoff concert combining Rachmaninoff's Vespers and Bach, but the pandemic got in the way. That's what happened. It was a terrible time for everyone, but for us it was quite traumatic. I mean, we did a concert on March, and I will never forget the date, March 8th of 2020 at Brick Church on Park Avenue, because we were remodeling the space for a whole year at All Souls. And then March 8 came, We did this concert in Brick. We did Reinberger Mass, the double chorus Mass. We were hearing about this whole COVID thing already, but that's when everything went crazy. That week, I remember we did that concert. Wednesday, we had our staff meeting. Ellen was like, everybody has to go home. I remember going to Penn Station that evening, and I was like one of 3 passengers in a train that is usually packed at 11:55 p.m. And I was hearing soon after that. Started getting texts from you guys. I tested positive, and several of you, and then I tested positive myself, and then I got really sick. And it took me about, I would say, 3 years to recover from being sick. I started with the regular COVID symptoms, right? But it got very scary because for about 5-6 days, I really struggled to breathe. I remember what saved me, in my opinion, and I saw these videos from Italy where people were sleeping on their belly. A doctor had put all these people with COVID facing down, and I tried it, and in like 2 or 3 days, I started feeling better. After I was able to breathe, so my first exercise, because I couldn't do it physically, was play the piano. And I put a concert together that I shared online with you guys, and that helped me a lot with the breathing and just mentally. And then I picked up my bicycle. The first time I did the bicycle, I felt like my lungs were on fire after just one block. Then little by little, I did more and more and more. But then what started happening is my stomach went crazy. I could not digest anything. I had to limit myself to just eating fish and rice for like the longest time. That's the only thing I could. And I would still feel horrible, but less horrible. And I did that for a year, I think. And after 2 years of that or more, I lost a lot of weight. I exercised, and then I found this clinic in London taking care of people with like mysterious GI issues, and they fixed me up. In 4 months, they just turned it around. What they think happened is COVID somehow contributed to destroying my microbiome, and I had to rebuild it. And now I'm back to eating whatever I want. I just develop a different lifestyle, where I'm more choosy about what I eat, not because I feel sick, but because I just don't crave those things anymore.
What were some of the meetings like with the Musica Viva NY staff? Like, what are you going to do?
Well, we had to switch to the online thing, right? Everybody had to do that, and you were instrumental in making that happen, with videos and things like that. With Brian McNamara's expertise at that point, he was with us to try to create something that would hold for a long period of time, because we didn't know how long it was going to last, right? And I remember, at the beginning being awkward and frustrating. The hardest thing was maintaining the cohesive, group that we had. How do we do that when we don't see each other, when we don't practice together? So I remember talking to Gail, and I was like, we have to keep people on staff. We just have to keep them. If we let them go now, we're never going to get it back. It's going to be a different group. Whenever this is done, it's going to be a different group. And to give full credit to him, he just was like, yes, we got to keep everybody. Just got to keep all the soloists and just find a way to keep them together. I was like, well, let's rehearse on Wednesdays. Let's just get together on Wednesdays. We cannot really rehearse, but let's talk about music, and let's talk about how we're doing and life. And that kept us going for a whole year and a half. It was a long time.
Do you feel like we're out of it?
Yeah, we're definitely out of it. I mean, it's funny because from my perspective as somebody that had long COVID, that went through a long process of transformation to get back to a place where I wasn't even, because I think I got that sick because I was in terrible shape. And I am in a place now where I'm in a better shape than before COVID. But going through that process is like, I felt that healing process happening in society at the same time, and with organizations like ours. So when I started feeling better, that's when I felt, okay, this is gonna be okay. Things are settling back to normal. It'll never be the same, but we can, we don't have to be afraid anymore. So yeah, I don't know when exactly that happened, but I guess the first concert that we did in person felt like, okay, well that's, we're okay now, back to normal. I didn't know much about the vision of organization. I knew about the past of organization a lot, and I knew how strong it was, and I knew about the tours, and I knew about the programming, the style. But yeah, the vision was something that I had to form. It has amazing support from all souls, which is incredible to have that many people supporting an organization that strongly for that long. But I thought we need to not make it a best kept secret. We need to really grow, expand. And that's what I've been focusing on.
Did you feel any pressure to follow certain lines of legacy?
Yeah, I mean, anytime you follow a person that has been in the job for a long time, there is a little bit of a cult is built, right? Because people are so used to the mannerisms, the gestures, the style, the programming, the vision. And somebody comes in new and everything to them seems jarring. But it didn't take long for people to realize that, I wasn't going to try to imitate anyone, that I was my own person. And as much as I admire Walter Klaus, an amazing musician, we're all different, right? I have my own style and I have my preferences of programming and my ideas as to what the function of an artistic director should be. The resistance that I felt, it was all positive. It was just natural and organic. But there was never anything that was negative or people that were completely closed to the idea of doing something new. And I think it's very important when you have an executive director that supports the artistic director to create a new vision for the group. I mean, all of the executive directors that I've worked with in the past with Musica Viva have been great, but I think Jasna has been amazing at making that vision really become much more evident, that we're actually trying to do things that are ambitious and we're trying to make sure that we don't stay stagnant. And she's just been very great. She gets a lot of the credit. And she just came at the right time, right after the pandemic, right after those years of just being kind of paralyzed like everybody else in the world. The vision of Jasna and myself, I think it's the same. It's about expansion. It's about growth. It's about making music accessible to as many people as possible. We're on the Upper East Side, so that's always been, I think, a blessing and a curse because, it's great. We have a lot of people that are financially comfortable and they're generous and they help us. But at the same time, a lot of the people that we want to attract don't feel like they belong in that environment. And we're trying to change that. All the outreach that we're doing, trying to get kids to think of us and in maybe 10, 15 years, come to our concerts, right? That's really what you're trying to do. Trying to develop an appetite for classical music, or for music. I hate the term classical music, but just for quality music. And again, I think our vision for that is really in sync. It's been tough, particularly because of the pandemic. I think that really slowed us down for a couple of years. But after the pandemic, I think we've come out stronger. So that's one of the things that is part of our vision statement, to provide solace in a complex world.